Welcome back to my channel, beautiful people. And today we're gonna do something a lot different. I'm gonna let my new team member, Kat Foronda, hijack my channel. And the reason is because she's a teacher. So her perspective on the educational system is probably gonna benefit you better than my perspective. Now, who is Kat Foronda? Well, if you follow me, she's one of my newest team members that I'm training to be a real estate ninja like myself. So without further ado, Kat Foronda.
Finding a school in Las Vegas, it can be rather confusing, okay? Listen, I was a teacher in the district myself, and even I had questions. Today, the goal is to demystify the different types of schools that are in this district. We're going to break down the difference between charter schools, traditional public schools, magnet schools, and private schools. I know it's a lot, but don't worry, because we'll be navigating this together. Let's start with magnet schools. So, are magnet schools part of the school district? Yes, they are. So they are public and they are free. Now, let's talk about funding. Magnet schools are funded at the state level, the local level, and sometimes even the federal level through federal grants. That's a lot of funding right there, which can mean some advanced resources. Now, magnet schools, they're known for their specialized programs, and there's so many. They range everywhere between STEM and the performing arts. Now, if you're wondering, what's STEM? S-T-E-M, it's an acronym. S is for science, T is for technology, E is for engineering, and M is for math, okay? So magnet schools, a lot of funding, specialized programs, and you might be thinking, it's free? Sounds great, sign up my kid. Now let me tell you how to enroll. Magnet schools, they're typically merit-based, meaning your child has to qualify to get into the school. What are the requirements? It depends. Every magnet school is different, but let me give you an idea of what they're looking for. Sometimes they're looking for a minimum GPA, test scores, a combination of those two, maybe something else entirely. But the key point to consider here is that your child does have to qualify, okay? Because if they don't get a shot. Now, if you're wondering, well, I think my child's gonna easily qualify. That means they're for sure getting in, right? No, sorry, but it's not guaranteed. Let me tell you this. If a magnet school, if it's not at capacity, then yes, it is guaranteed. However, if the magnet school is particularly popular, and if it does reach capacity, then the approved applicants enter a lottery system. Meaning, if your child's qualified, school's at capacity, then they have to be lucky enough for their name to be drawn out of a hat. Not literally, but you get the point. Let me go back to qualifications because it matters. So let's say you have a son, Billy, you have a daughter, Sarah. Let's say Billy easily qualifies. He's approved, but the school's at capacity. So Billy, while it's not guaranteed that he gets in, he does have a solid shot. Sarah, on the other hand, let's say maybe she doesn't meet the GPA requirements. She doesn't have a chance at all. So please, if you want your child to enroll into a magnet school, please look at those qualifications so that you can see if it's a viable option for your child. Now, let's talk charter schools. Are charter schools part of the school district here? No, they are not. So you might be thinking, oh, well, then they're private schools, right? No, they are not. They are public, they are free. Some of you at this point are probably scratching your head. Wait a second, how can a school be not part of the district, but also be public and free? It boils down to the funding. Charter schools are primarily funded at the state level. So no local funding, no federal funding. If there is additional funding, it's typically in the form of private donations. Now, something to know about charter schools, they typically have smaller classroom sizes, which leads to more personalized learning. So that's a nice tip there. And also, many charter schools also have specialized programs, similar to magnet schools. So charter schools can also, for example, have STEM programs. Now, you might be thinking, well, A charter school sounds a lot like a magnet school, but magnet schools get more money. So by default, aren't magnet schools better? Not necessarily. It depends on your child's needs, and it depends on what you prioritize as a parent. Let me emphasize something for you real quick. Charter schools are not part of the district. What this means is that charter schools, they don't have to adhere to district guidelines. And what that translates to is this. Charter schools are more flexible in the teaching methods that they use and even in the curriculum that they teach. For those of you wondering, well, why does that matter? This matters to the type of parents out there that say, for example, are not satisfied with what children are learning these days. So if you're a parent that has openly shared with others, I'm not happy with what kids are learning in schools these days, then charter schools might be a good option because they don't have to teach the same curriculum that the district imposes on their schools. Something to think about. So let's recap magnet and charter schools real quick because they do have their similarities and they also have their key differences. Magnet schools, part of the district? Yes. Charter schools, part of the district? No. Magnet schools, more funding. Charter schools, more flexibility. Enrollment. Magnet schools, primarily merit-based. Charter schools, pure lottery, meaning there's no qualifications. It's a simpler enrollment process. Simply apply, and then if your child's name gets drawn out of that hat I referred to earlier, they're in. I hope that cleared things up for you between magnet schools and charter schools. Thank you for visiting our channel. My name is Kat Foronda, a former district employee myself, now a realtor with Shane Judge. If you find this video helpful so far, please hit that like button, and if you want to stay tuned for more, then go ahead and hit subscribe and also click on that notification bell so that you can stay tuned for the latest updates. And now, back to the video. Now let's talk private schools. Private schools are funded primarily through tuition. In other words, you pay for them. Now, what are the benefits of a private school? Private schools also typically have smaller classroom sizes, which, as we know, leads to personalized learning. Not only that though, think about it, a private school, it's a business. So you can guarantee that they are going to perform very well. Why? Well, because their profit depends on it. Let's be realistic here. If you're going to spend the money on sending your child to a private school, would you do so if that private school isn't performing at the level that you think is satisfactory? Probably not. So for the not only survivability of the business, but for them to thrive, they kind of have to perform very well. So that's another added benefit of a private school. While yes, they are tuition-based, there are some private schools that do offer scholarships or some other form of aid. So something to consider there. Now, lastly, I'm going to talk about traditional public schools. What are those? It's the typical public school that you can think of. So typically, if someone says, my kid goes to a public school, and if it's not magnet, if it's not charter, then it is a traditional public school. With that said, let me be clear. Some public schools, well, traditional public schools, they are actually quite excellent. For example, school shout out to Coronado High School. They do very well. You can see that for yourself on the various resources that I covered in my first episode, where I show you how to do research on schools. Excellent high school. It's not magnet, it's not charter, but it is still fabulous. It has a 5 out of 5 star rating on the Nevada report card, so you can best believe it is great. So now we've talked about the differences between charter, magnet, traditional public school, and private school. And I hope it's become quite clear what those differences are. Now, what I really hope you get out of this is that when it comes to finding the right school for your child, it's not so much about the label as it is finding the right fit. What is your child interested in? What kind of career do they want? And also, what do you prioritize as a parent? These are the questions that you need to be asking yourself when you're considering what school you want your child to attend. Now at this point, if you're thinking, oh Kat, this is overwhelming, it's so much information, how do I navigate this? And I'm relocating, this is just too much for me. Don't you worry, because I've got some solid advice for you, my friend. What I recommend is that you find yourself a realtor in Las Vegas that not only knows the Las Vegas market, but also knows the ins and outs of the school district itself. Probably a realtor that's actually worked in the school district, a realtor like myself. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you found this information useful. My name is Kat, and this is Smart Moves. And you're making one.